Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. Previously, a boy named Wang was born with unimaginable power and decided to hide his power forever. His parents then give him an amulet and a pill to suppress his power. Wang's amulet would eventually begin to break during a competition between schools. The disguised shadow leader attempts to help Wang's opponent win, while also continuing her goal to eliminate Sun Ro. The story continues as fake Bufeng makes his way to the metal altar and prepares to take it from Chen. A look into the past shows how Sun Ro promises to make her father proud when meeting Tang's family, who is their longtime rival. The children's father would express how proud they were of their children as the two kids compete in a battle of knowledge. Their duel is very intense though, as it is really a war concerning their family's honor. Back to the present, Sun Ro attempts to take the altar of fire when an accident causes Hago's attack to stop her. In this moment, Sun Ro can only think about her father and how their family is never allowed to lose to the Tang family. Tang arrives to help defend the altar of fire, and Ms. Z points out how Sun Ro is attempting to take the altar with one of the swords she controls. Unfortunately for her, she must actually be holding the sword herself to capture the altar. Sun Ro realizes this and makes her way to the altar, but Tang's sword spirit appears from nowhere and shatters one of her swords. Tang commends her for her effort, but points out how futile their hopes of winning are now. Zhang excitedly compliments Tang on how well his plan is working, but Tang explains he wants more altars so he can embarrass Sun Ro with an overwhelming victory. This makes Sun Ro realize Tang's plan to abandon the two altars they control. This way, Bufeng can take the altar Chen controls and Bei can head to where Wang is. She will definitely not be able to defeat the transformed Wang, but watch his every move instead. If he ever leaves to capture another altar, Bei can capture the one Wang abandoned so that anything he does will be nullified. This guarantees Tang's victory unless Sun Ro can capture the altar of fire. Not only that, Chen must defend his altar at all costs as well if they are to have a chance at winning. We then watch as fake Bufeng begins his assault on Chen. Chen cleverly evades the attacks, knowing that he doesn't have to fight and only needs to keep the altar from being seized. The disguised Liu Yin taunts Chen for running, and he has a memory from his childhood. Chen's father had always hated how he was such a coward, and Chen never wanted to be anything like his father. The disguised Liu Yin laments how she can't use her own powers without giving away her identity, and is limited to using the close-range attacks Bufeng uses. Observers watch closely, and Yi begins to realize that Bufeng seems to be holding back for some reason. The fake Bufeng then notices that the area around the altar of metal has sharp metal leaves everywhere. He uses the leaves combined with his negative energy ability to form a long-range attack that finally hits Chen. Another look at Chen's childhood shows how he was able to defend himself from his father's overly intense training and how it helps him now as Bufeng's attack grows more powerful. Tang is frustrated to find that Bufeng is taking longer than expected to seize the altar of metal, and Sun Ro tells Hago to let her handle the current situation alone. Hago waits nearby though, and Tang points out how she has no chance of beating them with only 5 of her swords left. Sun Ro reveals that she plans to defeat him with only 1 though, and a look into their past shows how he taunted her after defeating her in their battle of wits. Zhang offers to help defeat her, but Tang refuses since it would allow her to lose with more dignity. At the altar of water, Bai watches as Wang peacefully protects the altar, and she determines that her team's victory is guaranteed. At the altar of metal, Chen is defeated but refuses to let Bufeng capture the altar and pays dearly for it. The spectators can only watch as Chen screams in agony, and Wang's father begs that the competition be stopped. Ms. Z explains that there are guards in place that will not allow anyone to die though. Tang taunts Sun Ro as she is clearly outmatched only using 1 of her swords, and Chen continues his attempt at defending the altar. He has lost the use of his arms as he is beaten relentlessly, but continues to think of the promise he made to his friends. Tang receives a message from a very concerned Bai, who explains that 2 spiritual forces are beginning to burst at the 2 contested altars. Tang thinks it must be Sun Ro, but he is wrong, it's actually Hago, and the other is Chen. We then see that this had partly been planned. Hago had explained to Sun Ro that his sword spirit is extremely powerful, but producing it is difficult because it requires other strong sword spirits. We then see that Sun Ro chose to fight Tang with only 1 sword because she decided to sacrifice her sword spirit to Hago before the fight. Tang mocks her for depending on someone else, and we watch as both Chen and Hago unleash powerful attacks. In the face of defeat, Tang now realizes that Sun Ro is not the same person she was as a child. Both Sun Ro and Chen must apologize to their fathers now, as they explain that they have chosen their own paths. Afterwards, it is announced that the capture of the altar of metal failed since Bufeng couldn't hold on to the sword, and the Faction 60 instructors celebrate when it's announced that their students have captured the Altar of Fire. Ms. E concedes that they have more altars now, but points out how her students have a commanding lead in points. However, she is shocked when it is announced that the Altar of Wood has just been captured by Faction 60. Wang was the one to do it, and his team now controls 4 altars. Chen is amazed to see that Sunro's plan has succeeded perfectly, but turns to find an enraged Bufang. Luyin finally sheds her disguise and vows to make them all pay. We then get a brief glimpse of when Sunro realized that capturing the fire altar and protecting the metal altar would not be enough. This being the case, she determined that Wang would be the key to winning the competition. We then see what happened at the altar of water in the moment Sunro and Chen won their fights. Bai begins to panic since Faction 60 now controls the altars of water, fire, and metal. She asks that Bufang head to the altar of earth while she goes to protect the altar of wood, but is shocked when the next announcement reveals that it has just been seized. Wang had separated from Froggy, lowering his force value all the way back down to 5 and allowing him to sneak away to capture the altar. Froggy stayed behind to continue tricking Bai and waited for the perfect moment to take her out. Chen is unresponsive, but Hago believes that the altar of metal being under control is proof that Chen is fine. Hago decides to go check to make sure and asks Sunro to head to Wang's location. Faction 60 has control over 4 altars now and are catching up quickly. While everyone else is optimistic though, Wang's father is only becoming more anxious. He knows that since Wang was a boy, he had learned to ignore things like success and failure. Whether everyone was amazed at his accidental displays of his abilities or if he was mocked when intentionally failing made no difference. Wang had only gone through life with his main priority being to control his emotions. Wang would live his entire life in this darkness, that is, until a dim light somehow found its way through. Wang would continue to suppress his emotions, but he would fail to notice that the dim light had slowly become much larger and was about to ignite a fire. Just then, Hago arrives to find that Chen had been badly injured, and we see that Froggy has stopped Bai. However, he must rush off as he is uneasy about Wang's state. Wang finally arrives at the center altar that had been completely abandoned by Faction 59 and prepares to take it. He hesitates and Jinkei begins to sense fluctuations in Wang's emotions that he has never felt before. Wang begins to feel the excitement of winning for the first time in his life and desperately tries to restrain it. He breathes heavily as his heart races faster and the 10-second countdown to take the altar begins. The more Wang restrains himself, the more his emotions spill over. Wang's team is sure to lose if he doesn't take the altar, and the countdown only has 5 seconds remaining. Wang doesn't want the amulet to break from the overwhelming feelings he is having, as it will surely end the world, and shocks everyone when he begins to release the sword. Just as he is about to let go, Sunro arrives, making him feel at ease with a friendly greeting, and the two hold the sword as the countdown reaches 0. Faction 60 now has all 5 altars, and we see that Wang's father is shocked that only a few comforting words from Sunro was enough to calm Wang's heart. The instructors then check on the altar of metal to find Hago calling for help to save Chen's life. Missy explains that it would take an immensely powerful being to keep the guardians from protecting the students, and no such person was among her students. Sunro points out how Wang looks much better with a smile compared to his usual stiff face, and Wang can only blush. Just then, the deranged Liu Yin arrives and strikes Sunro with a fatal attack. Sunro's spirit falls into Wang's arms, causing him to completely lose control. Wang's father knows the destruction that will bring and rushes off. Wang is just about to unleash his rage when Froggy shows up using his ability to stop the flow of time. Not even freezing time is enough to stop Wang though, and he breaks through. Liu Yin now realizes that Wang had been the one protecting Sunro this entire time, but she now claims victory after taking her life. Liu Yin's several attacks do absolutely nothing to Wang though, and his strength shows just how one-sided the fight really is. Liu Yin is not even allowed a single moment to defend herself as Wang's blind rage overtakes his body. His powerful anger would show itself in many forms as Wang uses several devastating attacks on Liu Yin. She pleads for Wang to take her life, but remembering Sunro's kind words once again calms him down. Instead of finishing her, Wang searches for Sunro. He is shocked to find that his trick of repairing is not healing her, and Froggy explains that it's impossible. Liu Yin's attack was so cruel that she tore Sunro's soul and spirit apart. Wang can clearly see that she still has some life left, but Froggy explains that it's only because he has stopped time, and when it resumes, she will be gone. Wang is prepared to give up all his spiritual force to bring her back, but she would not be able to withstand it. Froggy explains that with Wang's help, he can freeze the flow of time forever and keep her alive with the little she has left. If not, time will continue moving forward and Wang will have to move on without her. Wang can't bear to go back to living a life of seclusion like he had been before meeting Sunro, and decides that he will choose neither of the options given to him by Froggy. Instead, he has decided to restart the world entirely. Wang would then go on to restart the world thousands of times, destroying it and restoring it over and over again in the hopes that Sunro would be brought back. Wang finds that she is still in the same state and attempts to restart the world once again in frustration. He wishes that he had eliminated Luyan sooner, and Froggy explains that time remains frozen so they will have time to think about what to do next. Froggy states that his ability allows him to accelerate the spiritual force in their bodies to the speed of light, which makes the passage of time stop for them. Wang realizes if they can go faster than the speed of light, then they can go back in time, but Froggy explains that it would take tremendous amounts of spiritual force. Fortunately, Wang has an abundance of spiritual force, but Froggy points out that reversing time is against the laws of nature. Wang doesn't care though, and states that no consequence would be worse than losing Sunro. After living for thousands of years, Froggy is prepared to risk it all to help Wang, and Jinkei wishes his master good luck. We then see that Wang has gone back to the first day of high school. He encounters the same bullies he did the first time around, but this time would be saved by Chen and Hago instead of Sunro. Wang is blissfully unaware of Sunro's non-existence, but would begin to see her over and over again. He would search out the unknown person only to find that she is not actually there. Wang's new life is peaceful, but we see that it's actually happening on a whole nother world. Wang and Froggy's combined abilities have created an entirely new world, and it is constantly absorbing everything from the old world. This means that the old world is being destroyed, and since time is stopped, no one will be able to stop Wang. However, we are then shown the underworld where a monarch wonders why the earth is shaking, and assumes it must just be an earthquake. She is then presented Sunro's spirit, and is shocked to find that a DNA test proves Sunro is actually the descendant of someone very important. Once Sunro wakes up, they attempt to convince her that she is just dreaming so they don't get in trouble, and are informed by a scout that something terrible is happening. Back in Wang's world, he would continue being the emotionless Wang from the past, and he and his friends would visit the amusement park where he had his date with Sunro. A future-telling statue would then reveal that Chen will fail several classes that semester, and Hago would not find love until he was 30 years old. Wang's attempt though would only damage the statue. Underground, the monarch continues to panic as they now know that Wang is on the verge of destroying all three worlds, and frantically sends Sunro back. Jinkei is shocked to see that Sunro's spirit has returned to her body, and we see that Wang arrives at a Ferris wheel. He is certain that it's his first time being there, but strangely feels like he's been there before. Wang thinks about how it had been with someone special, but his friends encourage him to just have fun. Jinkei explains to Sunro everything that had happened, and she is shocked to hear that Wang unintentionally created a new world just to get her back. However, if they don't wake him up in time, the old world will be destroyed. And Jinkei explains that she will have to use him to wake Wang up. Wang can't understand why he is so sad, but does realize that something very important is missing. Jinkei wonders if Sunro is scared to be destroying a world, but she explains that to love is to destroy the world. She begins her ascent to wake Wang, and fights off automatic defenses that protects Wang's new world. The attacks become more dangerous as she approaches, but she won't be denied. Sunro finally reaches him, and Wang's memories of Sunro return to him. His friends encourage Wang to go to her, and the two are finally reunited. We once again watch the moment when Luyan sheds her disguise and attacks Chen, but this time she is instantly crushed by Wang. This time, he calmly takes the altar alone, and Faction 60 is announced the winner. The students and all their loved ones celebrate their victory, and Sunro arrives just after Wang takes the altar. Froggy wonders if Wang is really okay with how things have ended up, and we get an explanation of what happened after the two were reunited. Wang's trick of repairing was not able to repair the damage he had done, and Froggy explains it's because he acted against the laws of nature, making the spiritual impulses in the world chaotic. The laws have changed, and Wang realizes that he won't be able to go back, but Sunro explains it won't be so bad since they will be together. However, Froggy reveals there is something they can do. Everything they have done has created a loop of time and a loop of space. Wang can use it to reverse time, but in doing so, he will also be reversing Sunro's memory. She acknowledges the importance of saving the world and encourages Wang to do it. Sunro states that no matter how time is altered, her feelings for Wang will transcend time and space and eventually bring her back to his side. We then go back to after Wang's team has won the competition, and Wang's father arrives to place a new amulet on his neck. Froggy reminds Wang that a new amulet means that his emotions will be sealed up again, and his relationship with Sunro will turn cold. Wang explains that he is only concerned for the safety of the world, and a new seal is placed on his neck. Thanks for watching part 5, 10,000 likes and I'll know you want a part 6.